Well, listen, this is now a week and a day after the stabbing at Speaker's Corner. This is Jay. I'm here in a camp way near the mountains, so I am quite a far away from what is happening or what has happened at Speaker's Corner. And what I have done, I have decided and really want to bring on somebody who is not only a regular there at Speaker's Corner, Kay, some of you may even know her YouTube site, Kay Soko Films. You can go up on it. In fact, here is the URL. I'll put it right here at the bottom of the screen. Go and look at her YouTube channel. She has been putting up lots of videos as to concerning what happened last week. She has also knows Hatun very well. She knows the situation probably as good as anybody else down there and has been there for years. Kay, good to have you here. Thanks for coming on board. Thanks for being a part of this discussion concerning Hatun Tash.
Thanks,
now,
Jay.
Kay, we knew each other. You were with when I was there in United Kingdom back, 5 years ago. I remember you used to come down quite regularly down to Speaker's Corner. You're still going regularly to Speaker's Corner. You have a whole ministry at Speaker's Corner. You engage with all kinds, not only just Muslims, you engage with atheists. You have a particular concern for the persecuted Christians around the world, and you've done a lot of videos on persecuted Christian. I've been on your site. You've invited me onto YouTube, your channel, and we have had discussions on a variety of topics. So what happened a week ago is close to your heart, because this is something that you have become a champion for and a defender of. So I want you now, in your own words, tell me what was the lead up to what happened. Why did they particularly target Hatun? What is going on with Hatun? Can you give us some background to help us understand why this lady, why this place, and why those tactics?
Okay, so broadly, as a baseline, Christians everywhere who polemicize Islam, who ask uncomfortable questions about the truth, I use that term loosely, of Islam, are in danger of verbal and physical retribution, because of course it's ordained, really, and especially it's not correct to ask questions, to go beyond the red line, as it were. And specifically for Hatun, I mean, just confessing Christ as Lord is enough, as you say, like in Nigeria, to be beheaded, summarily raped, dismembered, just shocking statistics that I could rant on about. In this individual instance, it's because of her, one, refusal to back down to bullies, which is commendable. Obviously, that's the correct course of action for anybody, because you don't want to give the bullies, the satisfaction or vindication. Secondly, her academic work, which I feel is being overshadowed somewhat by her subsequent tactics. The academic work that she and yourself and teams of Arabic speakers is opposing the of the Quran narrative. There is not one. It is not preserved. It is not even from the right place with the right man. All of the stuff that she triggered with her scholarly work is enough for a fatwa easily, or just individual Muslims to take umbrage and come to physically attack her. However, she didn't rest on her laurels. And because of the now infamous phrase of Yasser Qadhi in admitting, finally, that there are holes in the Quranic narrative, she decided to visibly display that in the form of a prop, which was the Quran, the holy, finally, Quran, as in Holey. That is perfectly legal. She's yet to be charged with any crime, although she's been repeatedly arrested, under the guise of bringing her out for her own protection, etc. So that was enough, basically. And then Samuel, you may recall, in Paris, his head removed from his shoulder for a picture in a classroom, and then subsequently a couple of Muslim children escalated. He was beheaded the next day, back again with the Charlie Hebdo cartoons. If you heard of Charlie Hebdo, where have you been? That was just an utter outrage and a slaughter of innocent, legally speaking, people who had dared to, poke fun at Muhammad, who is just the same as everybody else when it comes to freedom of speech. And if you think that Christ isn't mocked relentlessly, just look on eBay for a T-shirt with his image on, and it's not going to be respectful. But obviously, we are grown-ups, and spiritually mature. And because we have the truth and are in the truth and the truth is in us, we're not threatened and feel the need to retaliate against mockery. So it's basically mockery, having the affront to display images of Muhammad and being less than flattering, which, as far as I'm concerned, she's perfectly legally able to do in Speaker's Corner and actually wherever she feels like it, as long as she's not in somebody's home who wants her to leave. But, you know, very recently I've been challenged. You know, I've had comments from Muslims and non-Muslims. Well, she does wear that T-shirt, and of course all the mainstream just focused on, like, to the exclusion of her name and the fact she's a Christian, like zoned in on the Charlie Hebdo T-shirt and saying, implying therefore that it's deserved violence. But it's exactly the same proposition as saying to a rape victim, well, you were wearing a miniskirt, and then leaving that hanging in the air, as if that there is no justification for violence against Christians unless they are physically attacking you and you're truly defending yourself, not in a Muhammad style attack and then pretend it's a defense. So yeah, basically, in short, cartoons and damaging the Quran.
Okay, so really what you're saying is what we have all been saying, and that is that Hatun, she's apostate, she is a woman, and she's always at Speaker's Corner, unfailingly at Speaker's Corner. Even yesterday, she was at Speaker's Corner, though that atrocity, the stabbing on her head and her hand a week ago, should have dissuaded her from ever coming back again. But you know, and I know that will always, in some way, even be an impetus to make sure she does return. Though Muslims, you're saying, and let me just make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You're saying that Muslims are particularly targeting her, not you or anybody else with knives or death threats or yelling, kill her, kill her. That no one else is getting it. It's only she is getting it because of her academic ability and what she has done academically on the Quran itself. She is the one that really held up those Qurans back in 2016. I helped her, and she is the one that really discovered them. She is the one that's pushed that narrative. The holes in the classical narrative that was created by Yasser Qadi. Didn't realize what a great gift he had given us when he made that statement a little over a year ago. She has taken literally, and she has applied it week after week, holding up that holy Quran, which they did steal, and they didn't realize you can steal all of the holes the Quran that you want. She just gets another one and drills holes in the next one. So that is where this anger is. But would you not say that, Kay, that there's also something in the whole DNA of Islam, which is another impetus? Is it not even in the Quran that they're supposed to do this? Isn't it not in the Quran that for those who are, if you look at chapter 8, verse 39, slay those, the unbeliever, who create fitna. Now, the word fitna, for many people probably don't know what that means. That means unbelief, and who provoke or who oppose. Well, I can't think of anybody that opposes Islam probably better or more vociferously than Hatun herself. Week after week after week, this 5'2" lady is amazing at the way she provokes and knows and understands how best to provoke, because she was formerly a Muslim herself. Would you say that that may have something to do with it as well?
I would say 8:39. I mean, I've been thinking about this, as you can imagine, and praying about it for some time. I mean, this is just the latest attack. I don't want to make it sound as if there are more in the post, but they are escalating in their ferocity. It's gone from pinching and poking and kicking and verbal filth, right up to punching, being knocked unconscious, etc., and having her property stolen. I would say that, and I keep coming back to it, Allah guides who he guides, even though he's a fiction. But I mean, technically, he guides who he guides, and he misguides who he misguides, and he doesn't leave it there. He says to Muslims, don't try to guide who I've misguided. Like, as it, you know, like he takes that to be an affront to his sovereignty, I guess. So Allah clearly has misguided Hatun into this absolutely courageous, like, if not, you know, it depends. We all have different functions in the body of Christ. Not everybody is comedic. Not everybody is able to speak publicly. You know, not everybody's tenacious. Like, we all have different like levels of the needed talents, as it were, or the gifts to be able to go and do what we do there, because it's very high pressured and like Satan is definitely present. But yeah, Allah has surely, verily, and probably truly misguided Hatun into these actions. So I do not understand for the life of me why these other, surely pious Muslims, maybe on a Friday, are trying to now like unmisguide her, trying to get her back on a path where she's, you know, least resistance. To me, it seems as if they're almost dismissing what they like out of the Quran and just focusing on the violent. And that's not to say all Muslims, because I've had many Muslims who go to the park saying there's absolutely no excuse. Not in the same vein as the Dawa, who are saying, oh, it's terrible, however, and then reeling off a load of other incendiary, like insightful comments saying she wants to die, she's an extremist, in the same video as denouncing the violence. So that's Takia, or at least disingenuous. Okay, but yeah, she's got a special niche.
You're talking about Paul Williams, who brought out his video almost immediately. So did Ali Dawa bring out his video immediately. So did Mansour Ahmad. And
the same Paul Williams, Jay, the same Paul Williams who himself received death threats when any number of the times that he's left Islam and gone back. And I saw visibly that he was shaken by that at first. He's probably used to it by now. And like, I don't know why I expected more from him. Like, I really don't, because I just thought he must somewhere have an empathy for being an apostate, because he's been in and out more times than the Okie Kokie. So, like, it's just bizarre to me that he would use the words "want to die," like to an audience who, like, this lady's just been stabbed in the face, and it's just bizarre.
I think what he's pushing is the wrong word. Yeah. Okay, I think it's not that Hatun wants to die. She is willing to die. Let's get the right double.
No, but I'm saying this is his take. These Muslims who he reaches potentially are never going to listen to you, all right? But he's happy a week later, less than, to say publicly, I utterly denounce or, you know, condemn this attack. And then 6-7 minutes in, he's calling her an extremist and like just pondering the fact that potentially she has a death, like she wants to. I think that's incredibly dangerous if you're a respected speaker, which hopefully everybody's seen through him by now, but maybe not.
I think this is a common response I'm getting from a lot of people. Does she have a death wish? And my response has always been, no, she's not, doesn't have a death wish. But she is following in the steps of Paul and Jesus himself. Jesus knew he was going to be killed. Paul was more than willing to be killed and was killed. All the disciples, every one of the disciples except for John was killed. This is the commissioning in Matthew chapter 10, that we will be killed. We will be hated. We will be persecuted, and we will be jailed and flogged. Those are the 5 things that are promised. So Hatun is aware of that. She does not walk away from it. And she is possibly unlike most anybody I know today, because she goes back right where she was almost killed the very next week, and it puts herself in harm's way. Now, let me ask you this. There were some people that you interviewed, and thank you for doing that. One was a Sikh fellow named Raj. If you could comment on that, because here is a Sikh, and it's interesting to me what he said concerning Hatun's right to free speech. Now, I want you to respond to that, what he said about free speech. How do you feel about that? Because this is not a Christian speaking, but he is, so he would be a Sikh, which would be a Sadarji. They are from India. They wear the turbans. I don't want to unpack it any more than that, but they are neither Muslim. They are neither Christian. They are neither Hindu. What they are is they are people that have been persecuted themselves enormously in India. Go ahead and unpack what he said, and what's your take on that?
Well, before I get to that, the Sikh community in Britain has for many, many years, and beyond the reign of this monarch, when they've been present, they take their responsibilities very seriously in terms of protecting the vulnerable, etc., and upholding the law. Quite frankly, they're able, obviously, to carry like a bladed article, unlike any other British citizens, because of their commitment to upholding Yes,
Well, they have to
standards.
carry
And
7
one
things. It's always to be ready for battles. It's and I won't get into it, but one of them is a knife that they must keep with them. It's nothing more than a facsimile today.
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's not go into that for the innocent. What he vouchsafed to me, I was speaking to him also off camera, is that you know, it seems to me that against the prevailing narrative of there is nothing wrong with Islam, it is peaceful. You know, it is it's hate speech to even question, which is basically Sharia, because Muhammad said no questions. Free speech. Raj has been instrumental, actually, over the years in calling out extremism, even alongside Paul Williams when Paul feels like it. And he does do so, actually. I shouldn't have said that. So Raj hasn't been coming for some time. He's been doxxed. He's been threatened himself. He's also very tenacious and doesn't, you know, doesn't lay down lightly, as it were. So regardless of theological differences, we both see the value of, you know, it's one of those things. Once one theological viewpoint is taken down or silenced or shut down or viewed as, you know, hateful, then it's only a matter of time they come to the next demographic, the next and the next. And if Sharia, which that act certainly is, you know, goes in no way against Sharia, if that is allowed to progress, even in as much as, you know, I said it to one of the police or the ex-police today, like if that had been a Muslima stabbed in the face by an unknown assailant, they would already be eating prison food, you know, like, and, you know, nobody says, no, that's not the case, Kate. Everybody understands that that is absolutely the case, that they, you know, the very fact that her Charlie Hebdo T-shirt, which to be fair wasn't showing anything that disrespectful or illegal, was even brought up. I mean, fair enough, it's a point of order, but the Daily Mail did an excellent article actually yesterday with some background information, actually mentioned Jesus. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, like we're getting to the actual point, because, and Sky News Australia, bless them, they're pretty based. But other than that, everyone's just clutching their pearls and outraged that potentially they don't want to. This is the thing, my father said it, and he's an atheist. He said, I said, they just keep going on about Charlie Hebdo T-shirt. And he said, but clearly they're indicating, albeit silently, that the attacker is most likely someone who's going to be offended by cartoons of Muhammad. So, like, take a guess. It's not the Buddhists, is what he said to me. So in that respect, the mainstream have still put out the idea, but they're, you know, I just find it very distasteful that something as, you know, it's not because she's preaching Jesus is God, quite frankly, it's not, because you can find that in any church on any given Sunday, hopefully. It is to do with questioning Muhammad and mocking Muhammad. However, this is a Western country. We kind of ran most of the Western countries at one point, and it's not illegal and it should never be so. And that's that, basically. And we have judicial precedent in this country whereby 3 Christian preachers were attacked, and it eventually got to the high or Supreme Court, and the judge threw it out, and he really had to go at the lower court judge for even getting it there. He said, how dare you send these Christians on a charge when the violent perpetrator is the only criminal in this scenario? If you find it offensive, because Section 29J of the Public Order Act says you cannot use the act to prevent the haranguing or insulting or ridiculing of another's religion. That's absolutely, like, protected, as it should be, because there could be Satanists running. Like, you have to be able to mock and ridicule, and quite frankly, there are Satanists, or godless anyway. So yeah, the person who commits the violent act is the only criminal. The hate speech is all made up nonsense. And yeah, the only criminal had a mask on his face and a big knife in his hand. And if anyone still thinks it's a setup, check your IQ. Say it out loud a few times to see how cuckoo it sounds. Try and, like, if I was going to if I was disingenuous to the point of that sort of nonsense, maybe I'd say to someone, if you slap me, I'll turn the other cheek. That'll look great. I wouldn't be saying, come at me with a 6-inch blade and I'll just, like, you know, ninja it out, because it's preposterous. And it's amazing the mental gymnastics it takes to try to, the cognitive dissonance of justifying Muhammad all of the time with all of his neuroses and his like psychotic, if he existed, behaviours. Back to Raj. Raj is a stalwart for free speech, and if not there, then where? This is the thing. If Speaker's Corner is eroded any, you know, in a legislative way, if it's either closed down or if it's minimised, or if people can be physically attacked and absolutely nothing happens, because people may be unaware, it's not the only place Hatun is attacked. And it's certainly, you know, this is the most publicity her attack has ever got, quite rightly. However, she's had other differing injuries that, because she is not, she doesn't seek, you know, retribution.
Kate, the other one you interviewed was the Sister of Christ. And she was not surprised that Hatun came down again today. Explain that. A lot of people do not understand that. In fact, I'm getting so many emails from people saying, Jay, stop her. She's walking into her death. You have a responsibility. Your team has a responsibility to make sure she doesn't go. Yet now it's obvious to me that she's not surprised that Hatun came down. What would you say? And what's your response to that?
I had to laugh a moment ago when you said people are telling you to stop her. They maybe don't know her very well, Hatun, because I think I said it the other day, other than Jesus and the Holy Spirit, like I don't think there are many on the earth, at least, who can convince her to do something outside of her, you know, what her mission, her vocation is. And she said it quite rightly herself on Sunday. God gives us a calling. We're all different, as I referenced earlier, different in our functions within the body of Christ. And do not allow, actually, anyone to take you off course, because the only person who can be behind that, even with best intentions, is Satan. Like, if God has put you on a course, if you're a lone, you know, preacher, and, you know, you just get an idea, do check it out with other Christians. Like, do prayerfully consider, don't just take the first whim. I prayed for months and months before I went to Speaker's Corner. I prayed for a vocation. I church, forcefully. I knew it was God. Like, obviously other Christians will like empathize with, or, you know what I'm talking about. Marie, the lady in the video, has her own ministry. They just outside of the park, they meet regularly. It used to be once a month. I believe it's now twice a month at Marble Arch for a service and fellowship, which is lovely, actually, when my singing isn't involved. So she knows Hatun very well, and she used to debate more often, but she's still regularly at the park. And so anyone who knows Hatun personally knows that there was not a snowflake's chance in hell that she would not be present. The only thing that physically could have prevented her would have been the police. And I don't think even they fancied their chances, quite frankly. So, yeah, she's, as I said, she's on a mission, not Blues Brothers style, but, you know, she's on a mission, and it's from God. So
let's talk about the way, everybody, because this has also come up quite a bit in the comments at the bottom of all my videos. I've seen it on your videos as well. There is anger against the police. The police were right there. You saw the car that was in the background. As soon as the stabbing happened, the car tore after the perpetrator. Obviously, they did not catch the perpetrator. We're now a week and a day later. There has been no hide or hair with all the CCTV cameras that they have all over that place, with all the people that were there who witnessed it, with even the 2 videos of the attack itself, and they have yet to catch this perpetrator. What's going on? Help us here, Kay. Is it that the police are just inept, or they just don't want to catch this fellow? Help us here. Help us to understand what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been not liaising, but yeah, I've always been in regular contact with the former Speaker's Corner policeman, Steve Barnes, who is an absolute, like, he's a pagan. I don't mean an absolute pagan. He's a treasure is what I was going to say, but he's not a Christian is my point. But he's a free speech absolutist. He's an actual policeman who's good at his job, believe it or not. There are still some lurking, although sadly not Steve, because he's now retired. But I've been in touch with him. I haven't liaised with the lead for the investigation, because I wasn't actually physically present, so I'm not sure what benefit I could be. But what I do know is, as you said, there are no cameras in the royal parks in actual Speaker's Corner. However, we Londoners have, I think, the most CCTV city on the planet. I think one American city may come close. Per person, we have many cameras. So
Okay, let me just interrupt here. Most people don't know where Speaker's Corner is, and where he was running to was towards Oxford Street, towards one of the most filmed
Park
places.
Lane, if you don't
Park
mind.
Lane, all
it's
of
on
that
Monopoly.
under camera. That is all hundreds of cameras there. Why could they not follow where he went and what he did, or even who he was? They do know what he looks like. Does that mean it's just a matter of time before they are going to actually catch him and prosecute him? Let me get, what are your beliefs? What are your feeling on this?
My feeling is that, I guess correctly, with police investigations, oftentimes, you know, that because they don't want to jeopardize, it can seem like inactivity. What I've been assured of is that the knife that was left at the scene, and some of it was left on Hatun's clothing, was not useless, as I'd believed that it would be, because of the heaviness of the rain. So the guy ran towards Park Lane. People may have heard it. It's on the Monopoly board, the English version. Oxford Street, 500,000 visitors per year. I think a day, actually. I don't know. Like, usually, without the post-COVID stuff going on. A very busy area, Edgware Road, very Arabized, you know, like big hotels, lots of money and lots of cameras. So also, I think he may have entered, I don't know for sure, but he may have gone on to the public transport network. And for sure, those are all cameraed up. So, yes, I've been told. So there was a video circulating, or still images of some previous attacker. It's hard to keep up with them all. It's not him, is what I've been told. Not the previous guy. And then I started to think, well, if they know it's definitely not him, then obviously that's just a visual confirmation that it's not him. So therefore, there's no way this guy could have got. Nobody wears the mask correctly anymore, like even highway robbers, I guess. So yeah, his face is, I guess, no. However, that doesn't really, unless he has a former criminal record, because Jay, he seemed so calm that he was either on some psychotropic drug or he was not agitated. When you see him prior to the attack, he was standing like the human statues that are painted gold, and you give them some money and they move.
He looked like he was in a trance. We're just waiting for the time to happen. You could see people were moving around him. He didn't move an inch. So obviously he was there. It was intended. He wanted to kill her.
But this is what I'm saying. It wasn't a spur of the moment. He's been angered by something that's said or shown or expressed. He's there with the agenda of doing so. And I imagine that that's at the behest of other people. I don't know why I feel that, but it's just speculation. He didn't seem personally agitated. There was no twitching or tapping of his foot or biting of his, you know, like cheek or anything that would make you think, oh, hold on a minute, he's looking a bit dangerous. So, yeah, so I just, it's so bizarre that he managed to escape. However, I don't believe, like from the first image that Let's Unite Upon Hack got, that was the first image let out on the media as well. It didn't sit like, you know, even people who've been stabbed just feel like they've been punched oftentimes. And it just looked like he gave her a few punches and then ran. I'm not saying that's not enough to chase somebody down, but until she collapsed on the floor, I think, and that was the image that will stay with me. It was just, you know, in a still image, she looks like she, you know, the worst had already happened. So I think there was a conflict of interest of trying to get to her to help her. And the few people who did chase him, and one lady who tried to block his path, he just ran around them. The police, back to the police. So quite rightly, they've been berated in the Daily Mail article that I posted on my community tab. The fact is they shouldn't have been in the car at all. They should have been on foot in London. If anybody has seen a policeman on foot in London within the last 10 years, please do let me know, because I think it's a myth. However, at Speaker's Corner, outside of the Houses of Parliament, outside Buckingham Palace, where important people are, and Speaker's Corner, they do walk around, you know, untethered, as it were. But because it was raining, which is a brilliant time to attack someone, because the CCTV images are kind of blurred. Everybody's got umbrellas up or hoods, or it doesn't seem suspicious nowadays to have a mask. So the knife has proven less than useless. That's what I'll say. His image, we're able to discount who he isn't. We know he is a he because we don't go along with this hate speech nonsense, and it's not. Yeah, I'm just saying some of the physical specimens of police officers we have there would find it difficult to run a bath, let alone run after a perpetrator. So it's almost as if they weren't trying. There are parts you can't drive into that you can run.
Listen, thanks so much for your time today. I'm glad we have someone who is there on the ground, who've been there week in, week out. You were there again yesterday. You will be again there.
With my first aid kit, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Sorry. I said with my first aid kit. I'm not encouraging anyone to test a theory,
Let's hope you don't.
I'm actually hoping that I can organise some Christians into some training, but first aid training, but hopefully we'll never need it. So, yeah.
Listen, as a last word, I would like, let's close this out. This has been great to have your feedback on it. And what would the last things you'd like to say to all of us who are watching here on Fander Films?
Okay, I'd like to remind everybody that we fight not against the flesh. If you are Christians watching, please pray for the attacker. The bulk of the story would be that Christ has already foretold the persecution. He's told us that, the Bible confirms that we do not fight against the flesh. It's very tempting to sit and to think what I'd do to the guy. Oh, if I'd have caught, because it's fleshly. But the spirit within us resonate. This guy is no more detestable than we were before we were saved. In actual fact, he's as lost as anybody. If anybody needs prayers other than the persecuted church, it's this guy. We need to pray that the Holy Spirit would move on him, and even encourage him to hand himself in. It's pray for Hatun, but quite frankly, she's already got Jesus, and she's more than capable of asking God for what she needs and having that being granted. But this guy is alone. He's lost both spiritually and mentally, and that's not saying that he's a lone wolf mentally ill person, but he needs prayers, and we need to pray. Like it's a good exercise all round. Like we should be prayerful. We should be double checking all the time with the spirit. Check your conscience, check whether you're convicted of anything, and repent regularly, because then you can hear more clearly what God's telling us. And if you're praying, you'll get the answer. We know that. And if we learn anything, it's to not hate anyone in our hearts, because of course that makes us the sinner, and then we're all in the sinking ship. So we have to lift up Hatun, obviously, for protection, but God's will is God's will. So let's not get involved in being advisors. Let's just be disciples and children. And I guess that's it, really. Yeah, watch space, and I'll keep you posted.
Thanks so much, Kay. This has been terrific having you come and just unpack it for us, give us the background, tell us what's going on, help us to understand a little bit of who Hatun is, what her motivation is, and some of the difficulties that not only with the police, but also with the Muslims there. And I love the way you ended off by asking us to pray for the attacker himself. He needs God more than anybody else. And isn't that what Hatun ended with when she got up off the ground? Didn't she say, my God doesn't need me, your God needs you, but you Muslims need to repent and come back to Jesus. And that really is what the message is. And that's the message that she has given there. Even as that blood is pouring down her face, she was always on message. And blessings. It's terrific to have her as a sister, to have her as a colleague. Kay, thanks for all the work you do at Speaker's Corner. I love listening to you. You take on almost anybody. And I love the fact that you keep supporting the persecuted Christians around the world. Don't ever stop. They need you as their advocate. I can't think of a better person. God bless you. This is J and K, over and out.
God bless. Bye-bye.